Hey, yo, what's up, fam? I'm the new airline in town, and I heard you have this really cool kids club that I really want to join, okay? You call it alliances and whatnot, but for me, it is family. You see, my route network can complement really well with your guys too, and we are into the same things, such as flying around, having really hard landings, and especially abusing the consumer rights of our customers. So yeah, when you have time, just, maybe we can have a call and have a chat, and perhaps, we can figure something out. Please, please, I really need to make money. I don't want to be seen without all the cool kids, please. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today's topic is all about airline alliances, what they are, what their history is, and of course, each of the big three airline alliances detailedly analyzed so you can figure out which one is the best fit for you. And keep watching because near the end, I might tell you a little secret that actually may blow this entire thing up, okay? So we begin with history. So it all started in the beautiful year of 1999 when Justin Bieber was just suckling on... You know what? Screw this. In the era of 21st century, when the most popular social medias really just restrict you to 150 characters or 59-second fake videos, who the hell has time for history, right? We millennials and Gen Z and Zoomers, we have attention span shorter than Mr. Clean's hair, so screw that yada yada yada. Let's move right on into what they are and how they can help you in your travels. So what exactly is an alliance? Let's make an analogy. Let's imagine the entire world is a high school, okay? And each airline is an individual. So you will know that there's usually a few of those, close friend groups that always hang out together after school. And alliances are just like that. So the idea is that each member can help each other, right? So you scratch my back, I scratch yours. One might be really good at math, one might be really good at history, so they can help each other study or copy the homework, wink wink, right? And in the real world, it is exactly like that. No matter how monopolistic Lufthansa is in the German-speaking world, it will never have as extensive of a coverage in East Asia as, for example, Air China. So the idea is that they can come together and band together so they can use each other's route network to their own advantage. And as usual, in any high school friend group, you will know once you are in a specific friend group, you are usually not allowed to get very intimate or perhaps get close to any person in another friend group. And usually there's a lot of rivalry between each of the friend groups. And of course, there are other folks who simply think that they are too good for any of these close friend circles, or they simply do not want to join. And there's always that nerdy Asian dude who sits at the corner trying to figure out his most impressive first turn Yu-Gi-Oh board to impress that redhead girl he had crushed for 2.5 years. Or so I'm told. Yeah, now we know what an alliance is, let's move on to see how it can benefit you as a consumer. Well, since the concept of the alliance is to boost each other's route network, alliances can really help you book some really complicated itineraries. Just to give you an example, a few years ago, I booked a flight from Taipei to Osaka, Osaka to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles to Eugene. This ticket simply would not be able to exist if not for alliances, because Japan Airlines only operated from Taipei to Osaka and Osaka to Los Angeles, where it is picked up by American Airlines from Los Angeles to Eugene. This is only possible because both of them work in the same alliance, Oneworld, because Japan Airlines doesn't fly to Eugene and American Airlines doesn't fly to Taipei. And this kind of through ticket actually makes it one single ticket on the entire flight itinerary. This is good because if anything goes wrong, I am covered on all bases. And the second good thing for the general consumer is that, for example, if I show up in Taipei, my luggage will get checked all the way through to Eugene. Usually, most of these alliances guarantee some kind of through check guarantee. So your baggage will go all the way to your final destination, even though it gets passed on from 2 or even 5 airlines, as long as they are all in the same alliance. And that is basically it for all of the general consumers who don't fly very much. The alliances can only offer you that much. But if you are a frequent flyer in any of the airline in the alliance, suddenly the number of benefits go way up. Since the ultimate goal of an alliance is to keep the customers within the same group, all of them will actually mandate that every single member airline to provide some kind of a basic washed out list of priorities for all of its members, including its lower tiered elite members of every single member. So expect something like a priority check-in or baggage handling, security, or even boarding, right? But for a higher tiers of elites, this is when the good stuff truly come in, which is the lounge access. And this is not your simple lounge access you get when you fly business class or first class. This is a year-long privilege that you get to enjoy even if you are flying a basic economy ticket. And sometimes you can bring 1 or even 2 guests with you, and they don't even need to be with you on the same flight. So yeah, you can sometimes bring a guy who you have just met in an airport as long as they are holding the boarding pass of the same day flight that is on the same alliance. So you can expect that I've tried to pick up many girls while transiting at airports. But apparently, asking a girl you have just met 3 minutes ago in an airport if she wanted to go with you into a dark exclusive room to do massages together does not really work. Right? I know, right? It's just, women are so complicated. That's why I stick to frequent flyer programs. They are much easier to understand. Now that we understand the benefits an alliance can provide for you as a consumer, let's move on to a detailed discussion and analysis of all of the 3 major global alliances. The first one is Oneworld, and then SkyTeam, and then Star Alliance. And I will be evaluating them based on 3 important qualities. The first one is the general standard of all of its member airlines. And for that, I'll be using the tier list I made for all of the major global airlines all around the world I made a few months back. And if you want to check it out, it's right here. And for the second point, it is basically the tier structure. This is very self-explanatory because it is basically the idea of how rewarding it is to the elite members. If it's really not rewarding at all, even though you have worked your way all the way up, what is even the point, right? And lastly is its route network. This is also very important because, for example, if I need to consistently go to a specific continent for business or pleasure or just visiting family and friends, and the specific alliance I want to go with has really, really weak coverage over there, then that is making it very, very difficult. So with all of these out of the way, let's begin with our first candidate, Star Alliance. A quick look at Star Alliance reveals that it has airlines all over the place. It has 2 really good S-tier airlines, but it also has some of the worst airlines out there. This is because Star Alliance is really, really big. It has a lot of members, so that means the general quality, it has to suffer a little bit. So in total, I decided to give its overall quality a B, let's say. And now let's move on to its tier structure. Star Alliance has 2 tiers, basically, a very simple structure. The first tier of Elite is called Star Alliance Silver, and the second tier, which is the top tier, is called Star Alliance Gold. And Silver is basically the catch-all for all of the basic amenities that an Elite can get, so a priority of everything. While the Gold is when you can get the lounge access. So you can see this is a pretty bare bones basic structure. And let's take a look of United Airlines, which is one of the most popular Star Alliance programs out there. You can see the first tier Elite gets the basic silver package, but all of the others just gets the gold, general treatment. So that means no matter how hard you work on flying with United, once you reach the second lowest tier, you are basically set in Star Alliance. So that is not really a good news to hear. And then we finally move on to the route network. This is where Star Alliance truly shines. This is the largest airline alliance in the entire world. It has the most passengers. You can see it covers every single continent meticulously. So from North America, you can see it has a very strong presence thanks to its Air Canada partnership. While in the South America, at least it has Avianca, but it's a little bit weak there. But all of the alliances are very weak in South America in general. In Europe, it truly, truly shines because the Lufthansa group is situated square in the middle of everything. And that gives them a very strong advantage in Europe. And let's move on to Africa, where it also has a very strong advantage because it is the only airline with 3 major airlines: Egypt Air in the north, Ethiopian in the east, and South African in the south. Let's move on to Asia, which is also very, very strong thanks to its partnership both in Air India as well as Air China. Yeah, this is really good. And finally, Oceania. This is a little bit weak because Air New Zealand is sitting at the fringe of the continent, so it's not providing too much feed throughout the continent. But in general, the route network for Star Alliance is extremely robust, and I have to tell you that this is as good as it's gonna get. And next up is SkyTeam. You know, in high school, there's this kind of club that, you know, if you want to join a club but you don't have any other club to go to, you would go to that one. Yeah, this is basically SkyTeam, and it is reflected in its general quality of the members. If you take a look of my tier list, you can see it has no S tier airline and barely 2 sitting at A tier, while all of the other alliances have at least 4 sitting at A and above. So yeah, in general quality, I can only give it at most a C+, because it has some of the really bad ones out there. And as for the tier structure, it is basically a carbon copy of the Star Alliance one, because it has a lower tier and a higher tier. The lower tier gives you some basic priorities, and the higher tier gives you business class lounge access. But I have to go on a little bit of rant here. Who came up with these stupid names, huh? The lower tier is called SkyTeam Elite, and the higher tier is called SkyTeam Elite Plus. These are some of your most worthwhile and high net worth individuals, and you decide to name them based on iPhones? And especially that goes for American Airlines. Like, you have gold for your lower tier elite, and then you have platinum, and on the top you have executive platinum, and what do you decide to shove in the middle? Platinum Pro. Pro what? Huh? This is not an iPhone. Who came up with these stupid stuff? Oh man, that sounds hella tight though. So, I have come up with my own frequent flyer program, okay? So, you know, it can be a better fit of the entire family. You see, the first tier elite, we'll call them walkers. Yes, beautiful. And the second tier elites, we call them bikers. Yes. And the last tier, the highest tier, are you ready for that? I'm gonna call them commuters. Oh, I'm such a genius. Let's just ignore that guy for a bit and move on to route network, yeah? Taking a look of SkyTeam's route network, it looks relatively robust. So let's zoom in to see North America first. It's actually not that bad, given that Delta is a very strong airline, as well as Aeromexico helping it in the south. And now let's go to South America. It is not very good. This is because Aerolíneas Argentinas might as well be defunct by now. And now moving on to Europe, which is really not that bad either, because Air France and KLM are the strong standing ones, with Aeroflot as well as Alitalia standing as guards. So now let's move on to Africa, and you can see Kenya Airways is standing strong as the only member. It's relatively acceptable, I would say. And now in East Asia, you can see the strong presence is very prominent, but in Central Asia and South Asia, there's really not that much. And finally, in Oceania, which is definitely the weakest link of the entire SkyTeam strategy, it has no airline based in Oceania whatsoever. So now, as a general evaluation, I would say SkyTeam is just okay, but the general quality of the airlines are definitely not good. And now we move on to Oneworld. Taking a look of the tier list, you're gonna see that Oneworld is really good. With 5 airlines positioned at A and above, it has the 2 best airlines in the entire world, and with just 1 sitting at C tier, I would say its general quality is definitely an A-. And moving on to the tier structure, this is another thing that Oneworld truly shines. Besides the first and second tier, which is Ruby and Sapphire, that corresponds to the basic 2 in the other 2 programs, it has a third tier that really raises the ceiling of how rewarding it can be. It is called the Emerald tier, and it has allowed me to access first class lounges regardless of what cabin I'm currently flying in. And that has resulted in me visiting lounges such as Hong Kong's famous The Wing First Class Lounge and its Cabana service. It gives you a private room with you and your travel partner that you can simply lounge on a sofa, watch TV, go online, make some business calls, or simply just take an infinity shower. And you can access this as well as the marvelous bar, cute little snacks, or simply just go sit down in the dining room, and freshly prepared Michelin level dishes will come to you for absolutely free. And did I mention that I was traveling on a $19 economy ticket at the time? This is truly where Oneworld shines. It raises the ceiling of how luxurious flying can be by rewarding its most frequent travelers. But lastly, and sadly, we have to move on to the weakest link of the Oneworld strategy, its route network. Let's take a look of its global map coverage. And yeah, it is not good. This looks pretty miserable. By looking at North America, you can see it is not bad with Alaska as well as American Airlines. And moving to South America, you can see the situation is not really ideal because Oneworld has lost one of its most important members in South America called LATAM to the poaching of Delta Airlines. And now let's move on to Europe. You can see Oneworld is not doing very well either because all of its 4 European members are situated at the fringe of the continent. And now we move on to Africa. With the exception of Royal Air Maroc sitting at the edge, Oneworld has no other airline based in Africa. And then we move on to Asia, and you can see this is the weakness that really starts to cut in. Oneworld is the only alliance without any airline in mainland China. But it does have a little bit of a help with Qatar Airways because it is the only major Middle Eastern airline in any alliance. And finally, we move on to Oceania, which is surprisingly good because Qantas, one of the founding members of Oneworld, is the largest airline in the entire Oceania. Coupled with Fiji, which is a Oneworld Connect member, this alliance actually has the strongest position in the entire continent. But after all, Oneworld has to suffer a little bit due to its route structure being severely hampered compared to the other ones. But they definitely know that, so that's why they made the ceiling of rewards as well as benefits much higher than its competitors. So now we have gone through all of the major alliances, which one should you pick? But before that, I want you to hold that thought. But I have to explain one thing, important thing actually first. Because a lot of people who discuss this kind of topic fail to acknowledge one important fact. This is that if you do not travel intercontinentally, at least I would say 4 or 5 times every year, you really cannot utilize anything that is provided by the alliances because you need to reach a certain level of elite structure within any specific airline in order to enjoy the benefits the alliances can hold for you. So, if you do not fly that much, you simply travel to Europe once every year for vacation, there's really that much in it for you by joining or sticking to a specific alliance. But with that out of the way, I hope that you as a business traveler or a frequent flyer for leisure or whatever purposes can really listen to what I have to say after this. So if you compare all of the aspects I have listed beforehand, you can clearly see there are 2 winners here. First is for route network. Star Alliance knocks it out of the park. There is simply no comparison to Star Alliance in terms of how many flights and how many airlines and how many passengers they are transporting. They have major presence in every single continent, with a little bit of exception in Oceania. And as for the general quality of its members, you can see Oneworld definitely wins out with a much higher overall score of airline quality than its competitors. And as for the tiering structure, again, Oneworld comes out at top because it matches all of its competitors with Sapphire status, the 2nd tier, but raises the ceiling higher with a 3rd tier Emerald status that gives you access to first class lounges. These are simply incomparable in the other 2 alliances. So as a conclusion, I would say that if you're flying to a lot of places that the Oneworld Alliance does not have a very far reach, such as Eastern Asia or a lot of places in Africa or South America, and especially you travel a lot within Europe, you should consider Star Alliance. But if you do not have that kind of travel pattern, I would say sticking with Oneworld is the most rewarding option because it has a much higher quality and you're gonna get much better experiences by sticking with this alliance. And in general, you can see SkyTeam comes behind Star Alliance in every single regard. So there's really not much reason to pick SkyTeam unless you're one of those folks being trapped by one of its member airlines. But before you leave, I have to tell you one tiny secret that kinda just toppled this entire thing, okay? Just hold on a second. A tiny little confession that I have to make that a lot of people refuse to tell you is the fact that alliances are kinda outdated. Yeah, because if you just look at the general picture, most of the alliances are kind of stagnant, if not just shrinking considerably. This is because of two major reasons, I think. The first point is that joining an alliance can cost a lot of money. And this means all of the big major global players that want to work with other major global players have mostly joined. The resource has dried up. There's no other airline that can join. And the second point, which I think is much more important, is that most of the airlines have started to realize that these alliances are simply not worth their while anymore. One of the clearer examples of my recent memory is China Southern. In 2019, it simply just said, it's not worth our while anymore. See ya. Because just looking at the map at the time, you can see SkyTeam actually had 3 airlines competing in China alone. So imagine such crowded place when you're competing with each other, but 2 of them are supposed to be your friends. Yeah, that doesn't really work very well, right? And the other one is the issue with LATAM. LATAM used to be one of the biggest players in Oneworld in South America, but after getting bought with a 40% share by Delta Airlines, it simply dropped out of Oneworld Alliance, and then it simply did not wish to join any other alliance, even SkyTeam, where Delta is very much in charge. This is because simply it's not worth its while anymore. It just simply needs to form a direct partnership with Delta Airlines, basically its boss, and that's it. It doesn't need to work with any other airline. So at the end, one of the biggest airlines in the entire South America is now without any alliance. And that is truly a sad thing to hear. But for you as a consumer, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because alliances may start to get outdated, these partnerships still make really, really compelling arguments for you why you should stick to a specific airline. And then you can get a lot of benefits with their partnership by flying with their partners or flying with their subsidiaries. And there are many, many more tricks, and I'll explain them in many more videos to come. Hey bro, so after this video, we are all family. So yeah, if you just want to hang with me or the other dude who talks too much, just click the like button beneath and perhaps subscribe. And yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, click right here if you want to see all of the major airlines on the tier list. And if you want to see more travel hacking videos, click right here. And we can chill and hang any other time. Peace!